right, thanks, Sally.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Next, we'll have, we're going to have our next session on land management in Prince William Sound. We have quite the list of speakers, so I'll have Jack Blackwell come on up. Jack is the Vice President of Lands and Resources at Chugach Alaska Corporation. We'll also have Brennan Cain, Chief Legal Officer, Eyak Corporation, Angela Totemoff, Vice President of Community and Shareholder Relations with the Titler Corporation, Chase Berenson, Director of Business Development, Chenega Regional Development Group, Barbara Lydon, Wilderness Specialist, Glacier Ranger District, Ellen Ray, Wilderness Specialist with the Glacier Ranger District, and Hans Rinke, Superintendent at Kenai, Prince William Sound Region area. We'll start with Jack.
Thanks, Bob. Well, thanks. You know, as I was driving in to Whittier today, I think this is my 7th or 8th session. I don't recall if I was at the first one, but I have been to most of the symposiums, and it's really kind of a great way to kick off the springtime in Alaska, and as we begin so thinking about our trips and stuff for the upcoming summer. So I'm Vice President of Lands and Resources with Chugach Alaska Corporation. And Eiley did a fantastic job talking about the culture and some of the history of the region. But I like to share this photo because it shows native sea otter hunters leaving Valdez in the early 1900s. And I think this picture really depicts the Chugach region and Prince William Sound and how connected people are to the water. So I'm really excited to have to be part of the native corporations in this region. You know, we'll have representatives from the village corporations as well as myself and Eiley from the regional corporation, and we have limited time here today, so I won't go into great detail, but. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act was passed in 1971, and it created a corporate structure for the Alaska Natives and gave them land and money to start out with, and so. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, often referred to as ANCSA. The federal government provided 44 million acres to the Alaska Natives and $962 million to help settle the native claims. To date, Chugach Alaska Corporation, we have about 3,000 shareholders in the corporation. And this map shows the regional corporations that were created. So there were 12 regional corporations and a 13th corporation that's no longer. But this depicts the regions of the state. And so within the Chugach region, you can see the southern part of Alaska on the northern Gulf, the coast, how we fit into the to the regional map of Alaska. The mission of Chugach Alaska Corporation, I like to think of this that there's 3 pillars. And so there's a profitability component, there's a heritage, celebration of heritage component, and then lands component. And so we're a for-profit corporation with the social component. And I think it's really cool that we started off with a cultural piece that showed some of the benefits that the corporation has been able to support over the years. The Chugach Corporation has grown over the years and now has around 5,000 employees worldwide. You can see the different graphics for some of the businesses that fall under our umbrella, but we provide government services, services to the federal government throughout the world. We have in Prince William Sound, Chugach is along with Chenega and Chugach Corporation provide oil spill response. We also have a number of businesses, electrical company in Chicago, heating and ventilation companies in Fairbanks, as well as Hawaii. And then some of our energy companies, recent acquisitions include a couple of the Pollard companies that are well established on the Kenai Peninsula, Pollard Wireline and Alaska E-Line Services. We have generate close to $1 billion in revenue, and the goal is to build the company. We're looking at purchase and acquisitions of other businesses in the other businesses as well. Chugach has around 1 million acres of land in south central Alaska, including 378,000 acres of full fee estate and 550,000 acres of subsurface. This little map of the region in depth, and this map shows the Chugach lands. The dark green is the surface and subsurface lands, the full fee estate, and then the other colors are subsurface. And again, the eastern end of the region goes all the way out to Icy Bay. And some of the subsurface lands on the southern Kenai Peninsula. Chugach initially focused on the resources that they had early in the corporation's history, and with all the forested land, Chugach sold timber in areas like Icy Bay and Montague Island. Today we issue, today we're not harvesting our timber. We're managing a lot of our forest lands in improved forest management projects. That's a long name for carbon projects. And so we've sold carbon credits to the California cap and invest market. That's been very successful endeavor for the corporation. We also issue land use permits for hunting, ecotourism, gravel sales, research, and we're developing a rock quarry in Prince William Sound. We also permit uncruise, small cruise ship ecotourism operation here in Prince William Sound at Knight Island. Eiley mentioned the historical sites in ANCSA, Section 14H1 addressed historical sites and allowed a corporation to acquire those, and we're up to about 130, and I think we still have maybe 30 or 40 more that we're actively working on, and that's under the leadership of John Johnson. He's done an excellent job of acquiring those important historical sites. I would like to touch on one issue that has occurred after the oil spill, but the intent of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act was that the the regional corporations would work with the village corporations to develop the subsurface, the mineral estate. After the oil spill, the Exxon Valdez Oil Spill Trustee Council acquired land from village corporations. It was acquired for habitat protection and conservation. And so Chugach, as the regional corporation, still owns the subsurface on those lands, and they're the dominant estate, which we can develop. But developing the subsurface conflicts with the intent of the conservation acquisition, and so in 2019, the Dingle Act required the federal government to conduct a land study of this split estate issue. A report was presented to Congress in December of 22 that ultimately, or that recommended trying to resolve this, and it identified lands that could be traded with the federal government and Chugach. And I'm happy to report that the Alaska's congressional delegation has been very supportive of this land trade, and the House of Representatives has passed our land bill, and the Senate remains to go through the Senate. So I just wanted to mention that land exchange. And at this point, I'd like to bring up Brennan Cain with the Eyak Corporation, or is that okay, Paul? And I apologize, we're moving pretty fast with our presentations because we have a number of speakers here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brennan. Thanks, Brennan.
Thanks, Jack. So this is Jack's, seventh time here? This is my first time, so I'm really happy to be here. As Jack said, my name is Brennan Cain. I'm Chief Legal Officer with the Eyak Corporation. It's been my pleasure to work for the corporation since 2010. So it's been a great ride for me so far. The Eyak Corporation is the ANCSA Village Corporation for the community of Cordova. We had 326 original shareholders, so the Village Corporation shareholders, Eyak Corporation, Village Corporation shareholders, are all Chugach Alaska Corporation original shareholders as well. We have about 650 shareholders today, and that's through inheritance and gifting. And one of those shareholders you heard earlier today, Eiley Johnson, is an Eyak Corporation shareholder, and there's more. She's chair of our shareholder advisory committee. So, and I'm really excited about Eiley's future, and hopefully one day I'll be working for her in her capacity as chief executive officer of the Eyak Corporation. No pressure, Eiley. So Jack mentioned Chugach receiving approximately 1 million acres of surface and subsurface estate. Eyak Corporation is entitled to 148,000 acres of surface estate. Something that's a little frustrating for us is that we're still owed 6,500 acres of land. So ANCSA was passed in 1971, and here we are 50 plus years later, still trying to get our remaining 6,500 or so acres of land. And land is very important to our shareholders, very important to our board of directors. We have a dedicated land committee. We have an employee, Tiffany Beadle in Cordova, who's our lands manager. And so really, lands are very, very important to our corporation and our shareholders. Every year, our land committee does strategic planning, and so we focus on certain land initiatives. We have a shareholder home site program that, for a nominal fee, $99, and paying for a survey, shareholders and their families receive a 99-year lease on the corporation's land. Jack mentioned aggregate as well. The Eyak Corporation, I think has a wonderful relationship with the Chugach Alaska Corporation on aggregate. So we manage the aggregate site in the Cordova community. We manage the aggregate sites, but they are Chugach owned, Chugach owned resource. Challenges that the corporation faces on our lands are dumping, trespass. Eiley mentioned historic cultural sites. We've absolutely had looting of historic cultural sites, and also contaminated lands. Some of the lands that Alaska Native corporations received through the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act had prior contamination at the time they were conveyed to the corporations. So that's something else that we're working on. Opportunities that we see are ecotourism is something that we haven't done a ton of, but it's something that we're starting to look at. And one of the reasons I'm really happy to be here today is at the Eyak Corporation, we really value our relationships with other organizations. We have a good relationship with Chugach, their representatives from Chenega, which is another village corporation here, Chugach Regional Resources Commission, and Forest Service. And so we really do value our relationships with these other entities, and really events like this are a great opportunity to bring people together. I usually go to Alaska Native events, and I know pretty much everybody, and I'm looking around the room here, and I only know a handful of people. So for me, I'm going to get a lot out of this just visiting with people during the break. And I value breaks, so I'm going to wrap it up here. And thank you all for your time. Happy to answer any questions, but also recognize that I think there's 7 of us speaking during this panel, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Okay? Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And we'll take questions at the end here if there's time. I'd like to introduce Chase Berenson with the Chenega Regional Development Group. So thanks, Chase.
Great, thank you, Jack. Go to the beginning of the slides here. Chamakwa, Weatka Chase Berenson. Good morning. That in Sukstun language, I just said hello. My name is Chase Berenson. I'm the Director of Business Development for Chenega Regional Development Group. That's a subsidiary of the Chenega Corporation, which is the Alaska Native Village Corporation for the native village of Chenega. We are the 4th largest Alaska-owned business by revenue. We did $1.5 billion in revenue last year, primarily through government contracting, but also through several corporate subsidiaries. We also manage tens of thousands of acres of land in Prince William Sound. So through ANCSA, we were originally granted 70,000 acres. As Jack alluded to with the EVOS Trustee Council acquiring land after the oil spill, we have fewer acres now, but we still have tens of thousands. Most of the land that we manage is kept private, so we use it in the corporation for subsistence for our shareholders and other opportunities. Other parts of our land, we do have pretty complicated history with, both with EVOS Trustee Council, then there's some land with federal conveyances and federal easements over it, some state lands as well that we have conflicts with. And that complicated history is due to Chenega's complicated history. So Chenega people have lived in Prince William Sound for over 10,000 years. They used to live in the village on the Chenega Island at the southern tip, right at the base of the mountain. The word Chenega actually means beneath the mountain. For centuries, people lived here, and you can look at this picture and see the village is right on the beach. Pretty much the only building not on the beach is that school building up on the hill on the upper right. People lived here for centuries, living off the abundance of the lands and waters of Prince William Sound. And that all changed on Good Friday in 1964. The magnitude 9.2 earthquake caused a tsunami that wiped out the village of Chenega. The only building that remained was that school up on the hill. When that happened, over a third of the Chenega people lost their lives in one day, and centuries of history were washed away. After the tsunami, that led to the Chenega people being relocated to other Sound communities, including Cordova, to Titlik, and even out to Anchorage. And when that happened, it really separated the people out. So you no longer lived with your friends and family that you've lived with. You know, you had friends in these other communities. People were still able to connect and have relationships and have friendships, but it's not the same culture you grew up with, not the same subsistence practices. You're living in a different area. And decades went by without having a home for the Chenega people. This is also the period where ANCSA was passed, which led to some of those complications when there was no longer a village. That lasted until the 1980s, when a group of villagers got together and formed a new village on Evans Island. So where that village is still the current location for Chenega today. In the 1980s, they built a brand new village, all new infrastructure, new roads, new airport, new docks, new houses, new schools, brand new Russian Orthodox church. And when that happened, Chenega people flocked back to this village. This was a great thing, to be able to come back and live with your families, live with your community, practice the culture that you want to, practice the subsistence that you want to. So as people flocked here, this was a time of great optimism. Everyone was thrilled for good times and to have their home village again. And that optimism was pretty short-lived, because just a couple of years later, exactly 25 years after the Good Friday earthquake, on Good Friday 1989, the Exxon Valdez ran ashore on Bly Reef. So within a very short amount of time, the waves of Prince William Sound brought that thick black water onto the beaches of Chenega. That killed the only cash economy business that existed at the time in the village, which was commercial fishing. And it also crippled the ability to go after subsistence activities, especially maritime subsistence activities. Today, we're 40 years after, or nearly 40 years after that, things are a little different. We have a prosperous village now, still on Evans Island, on about 30 residents year-round, goes up to 70 in the summer. So I mentioned I work for Chenega Regional Development Group, a very small portion of Chenega overall. And we handle business in the village and in the Sound. So we do, among other things, have all of the short-term housing and manage most of the long-term housing in the village. We also have a public use cabin on Actuya Bay, which is the only way to access legally the lands on the north side of Evans Island. We also have a fleet of vessels, so we do passenger and cargo transport throughout the Sound from Whittier to Chenega and all other locations. And we're really looking ahead to the future. So one of the things we're really excited about is a new fuel farm. We got a $6 million grant to build a fuel farm in Chenega. This is going to allow a maritime fueling in the southwestern Prince William Sound. So currently there's no fuel there. If you need fuel in southwestern Prince William Sound, you got to head all the way to Whittier. So we're excited to offer this for boaters. And we're also working with the Alaska Marine Highway on their new dock as they're building new facilities for the Alaska class ferries in the Sound. We're excited to maintain Chenega's connection to the rest of the world for moving passengers and cargo on the new dock. So that was a quick overview. Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. This was a great opportunity for you to hear a little bit about the Alaska Native corporations in the Prince William Sound region. And Paul, at that, I'll let you turn it over to you.
All right. Well, we're going to have the Forest Service reps up next, and the public land managers. But why don't we have questions for you guys first? So, any questions for Jack, Brennan, or Chase?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
I
go
just
ahead,
have
Tanya.
one quick question. Is the new Chenega community, do they refer to themselves as Chenega Bay or Chenega?
That's a good question. I did hear Chenega Bay yesterday during some of the presentations, but it is just Chenega.
Any other questions about Chugach Alaska, Eyak, or Chenega? Chase, when's the timeline for the fuel dock?
Right now, we're looking at construction in summer 28. So that's the construction season we're aiming for. So we're in our planning and development at this phase.
And the public use cabin, is that open to anybody to use, and how does one reserve it?
It is. So it's run by the Chenega IRA Council, which is kind of nestled under Chenega Regional Development Group. So they don't have a great website for the public use cabin, but if you call the main line for Chenega, I don't have it up on the screen, but I'm sure everyone can Google it. That'll get you put through to the person who can make bookings for the public use cabin.
And then for Jack and Brennan, can, let's say, people get permits to camp on Chugach Alaska or Eyak land, and how do they do that?
Yes, the Eyak Corporation has a land use permit, and you can call our Cordova office for that. And actually, I think we have a website that the new and improved website should be rolled out soon, which will have copies. You can access the permits online. Thanks.
Chugach Alaska Corporation also has a land use permit system, and we evaluate the applications on a case-by-case basis, so.
Yeah, Kelly.
Chase, I had a quick question. If you're a boater or a kayaker, are you welcome to get off and wander around Chenega?
So there is a small boat harbor in Chenega. It's generally doesn't receive that much use. It is interesting when you get to the small boat harbor, and if you were to walk up into town, there's kind of a commercial district of town, and they've planned the village that way on purpose. So if you were to come off the dock, you get into the area where there's a lot of community resources. You've got the school, the church, the community center, the post office, civic building. That's almost kind of like the public part of the community, and they ask that people kind of respect that area and then don't really travel through that into the residential area of the community. So thank you for asking.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, now that was the private landowners. Now we'll go to public lands. We have Barbara Lydon, Ellen Ray, and is Hans here? Hans Rinke? Oh, he's online. Okay, well, we'll start with Barbara and Ellen.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Barbara Lydon, and I'm with the U.S. Forest Service, and this is Ellen Ray, and we are here to talk to you guys about the Chugach National Forest. Let's see here. Sweet. So the Chugach is a 5.5 million acre parcel. It's the nation's second largest national forest, right after the Tongass National Forest in southeast Alaska. And the Chugach can be broken into 3 geographic locations and zones. We have the Kenai zone, managed by the Seward Ranger District, the Prince William Sound zone, managed mostly in part by the Glacier Ranger District, and the Copper River Delta, managed by the Cordova Ranger District. So this map shows land ownership, and it's easy to assume that it's all national forest, but it's, as you've heard in this session, it is not. On this map, the green is national forest, and the yellow is village and regional corporation, and the blue is state and DNR. And because we don't have a lot of time today, I just want to highlight this document. This is our forest plan that was completed in 2020, and it provides a tremendous amount of information about how we manage the Chugach. And I'll have some resources that I'll set out after this talk. So if you want to take a look at this or any of the other information we've brought, they'll be out for you. But this can be found online with just a Google search. So the Forest Service is a multiple use agency that supports many uses. This map shows 8 different management prescriptions for the Chugach. And the teal area on here shows the Nellie Wan College Fjord Wilderness Study Area, which is one of our management prescriptions. And much of the western Prince William Sound encompasses this area. It's thank you. It's about 2 million acres, about a third of the Chugach. The WSA has remarkable physical features, a few of which include 20 glaciers, mostly tidewater. It's the northernmost temperate rainforest and the northern limit of yellow cedar. This is an old slide. I didn't put myself in here. It's filled with historical and cultural features and includes a vast array of recreational opportunities, much of which are revenue generating, tied to the economy. I'm going to turn it over to Ellen.
Thanks. All right. All right, so the WSA was designated by Congress as part of ANILCA, the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act of 1980. ANILCA protected 104 million acres of federal land in Alaska, and 56 million acres of that was set aside as designated wilderness. Of that, the Tongass got 6 million acres of wilderness, and the Chugach got 0. So during ANILCA negotiations, there were a lot of unresolved land selections in Prince William Sound between the state of Alaska, Alaska Native corporations, and other groups. And many of these discussions were around selecting lands for hatchery development. But Congress knew that Prince William Sound was special and that it did have wilderness value, so they drew a border around it and asked the Forest Service to recommend an area for wilderness designation. So as a result, Western Prince William Sound was designated as a wilderness study area, and this serves as an interim designation. But only Congress can add, delete, or otherwise change the WSA's borders. So what that means is no matter what the Chugach National Forest does or how they choose to manage it, it has this wilderness study area until Congress decides otherwise. So Congress gave the Forest Service until 1984 to put forward its first wilderness designation in a forest plan, and the Forest Service met that deadline. Since then, there's been 2 more forest plan revisions and recommendations, but Congress has not yet taken any action on that. So here's a map of the lands that have been recommended for wilderness designation. So we manage this land to maintain its presently existing character, a potential for inclusion in the National Wilderness Preservation System. And that's a lot of jargon. It essentially means that we want to manage this area so that its wilderness value doesn't degrade. So we're looking at 4 key metrics of that. And we're essentially allowing ecological systems to remain unmanipulated. So we're using restraint in our management actions. We're maintaining the area's natural conditions by doing things like removing invasives. We're keeping the landscape largely undeveloped and generally free from motorized use. And we're managing where use occurs so that the public can find outstanding opportunities for solitude in primitive and unconfined recreation. Next. There we go. So it can be hard to manage for such a wide range of uses. And to do this, we have a monitoring program with measures for each quality. And more information on how we track each one of these measures can be found in this baseline assessment report, which we completed in 2021. And I believe Barbara brought a copy of that today as well. It also has a legislative history write-up in the appendix of this report, and that dives into more detail about why the WSA was designated as a WSA. Thanks. So a lot of people think of wilderness as a restrictive designation, but there's a lot of different types of use happening out there. So when you're out there, you might see things like research stations or communication sites or outfitters and guides, hatcheries. Next. And to help manage these 4 qualities that I mentioned earlier, our program does things like youth engagement with service projects and education. We have an artist in residency program, which you're going to hear more about later. We manage the spread of invasives. There's lots of research happening by the Forest Service and other groups, which we're learning about a lot yesterday and today. Cleanup of marine debris and lots of just data collection and monitoring. And managing the wilderness study area takes a lot of teamwork. The WSA designation applies to our entire district and to all of its programs. So managing and stewarding these lands is a shared responsibility, and there's many people in this room that help us meet that shared goal. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to all of our partners.
Why don't we take questions for these two before we move on to Hans? Yeah. Go ahead and stand up and go to Mike. Yep.
I'm just thinking about recording in progress. I'm just thinking about all the changes happening with the rural tenure. The rural tenure. Hello? Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking about how everything's heating up all over the world. And I'm wondering how you are representing invasives, knowing that properties of soils and things are changing quickly. And I just wonder how you're actually quantifying what an invasive is, knowing that pHs are changing. You know, soil is just not what it used to be. And yeah, I'm super curious about that. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
We have an amazing, whoa. We're good. We have an amazing team of ecologists that we rely on for questions like that. And I would encourage you to reach out to Pete, who's talking later today. Yeah, on ecology in Prince William Sound. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Any other questions for Barbara or Ellen? Oh, yeah. Bob?
Hello? Is the water considered part of the area of the Prince William Sound Wilderness Study Area?
It's another great question. No. So our wilderness study area boundary begins at mean high tide line. So all navigable waters are managed by the state. Yeah, so we're just looking at the lands.
All right. Thank you, too. Oh, one more question for this guy. Yeah.
What kind of volunteer opportunities are available?
That is such a great question. Thank you for that. And thank you for wanting to get involved. We actually are going to have a session about volunteer opportunities later this afternoon. So stick around for that. And if you have any questions after that, we're happy to answer them. But we do have some opportunities for this summer. Thank you.
All right, thanks you too. Next up we have Hans Rinke, I think, with State Parks.
We can hear you and see you. We're good in the room. Thank you.
Hey, sounds great. Hey, first of all, good morning, everyone. Hans Rinke here. I'm the State Park Superintendent for Prince William Sound and the Kenai Peninsula. Look forward to being there in person next year to certainly work on building some relationships. I was fortunate in my position here to follow Jack Blackwell at the helm here of the region. So Jack's been a great partner throughout my career in state service, and certainly appreciate working with Jack in this capacity. Just a little about state parks and the region and what we do. Our footprint in Prince William Sound is certainly smaller than the previous landowners here in this panel discussion this morning. Most of our focus is obviously on outdoor recreation, and that spans kind of the typical footprint of what you think state parks to be, meaning, we have a scattering of remote or partially remote personal use cabins that can be rented by recreationalists, tent sites, boardwalks, and some trail infrastructure scattered about in the Sound. On the western side of Prince William Sound, we manage that with state park staff. On the eastern part of Prince William Sound, we have a relationship with the nonprofit, the Valdez Adventure Alliance, that helps us in managing that infrastructure and visitor use on the eastern side of the Sound. Beyond the recreational component, we also do have commercial operators and commercial use that occurs within Prince William Sound. State Parks permits those operators for use, and also we have the Wally-Nurnberg Hatchery on South Esther Island there, which is a significant commercial use in Prince William Sound, which we permit as well. Similar to our partners at the Forest Service, we have a comprehensive plan that helps to guide our management, and that plan has three goals. The plan's dated from the late '90s, which is not unusual for some of our state parks plan, but the goals still remain fairly current. And those three goals are, recommend ways to maintain cultural and scenic values of the marine parks in Prince William Sound, recommend specific management for each park unit, which the plan does, and recommend possible additions to meet recreational needs. To meet the intent of that plan, Parks relies on partnerships. And, certainly I've been in this job for a couple of years now. And one of my goals here is to, increase my knowledge base of partners within Prince William Sound, certainly attend some meetings in person and, get to know other land management agencies in a capacity that we can leverage partnerships. Certainly any land manager understands that limited resources and the value of leveraging those partnerships to deliver your mission. Challenges for state parks in the coming field season, short term and midterm. This next week will be, getting in the field with staff in the western part of the Sound there, just to do our typical opening season assessments of sites. And then we'll have follow-up visits with field staff for maintenance activities, etc. in June. But just staff monitoring certainly is a challenge, having staff available and a number of staff necessary to complete work, remote field work. That's a challenge certainly for most land management agencies, and certainly as for state parks. And then just aging infrastructure. Much of state parks infrastructure, was on the heels of the Exxon Valdez oil spill and funding. So that infrastructure is reaching that 20 to 30 year age mark, which is, which has its limitations, as folks on the call and in the room know here with the temperate rainforest. So, in general, a challenge, I think. I've seen this in my, professional time here at Parks and my personal time here, and this is Alaska wide, but certainly seen it in Prince William Sound. As Prince William Sound is, it's shrinking accessibility to the public. I've seen it in my about 20 years of recreating in Alaska, and a decade in the Sound there is, just boats, watercraft that can go faster, farther, provides more access to the Sound for the general public. And that's a challenge for any land manager. So I think I'll wrap it up there. Look forward to meeting more Prince William Sound stewardship advocates in the future, and certainly available for any questions.
Any questions for Hans?
Paul, I liked your
Okay.
intro there. One of my favorite birds of early summer is the varied thrush. So appreciate that. I always look forward to hearing them in the temperate rainforest.
All right. Well, we look forward to having you here in person next year, Hans.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. It's time for a break. I want to mention one thing. As we all learned here, boy, land is complicated in the Prince William Sound, and as users, we need to respect not only the public lands but also the private lands. And we've learned a bunch about how to access land today. There's other landowners out there. There are a few private in holdings, and there's UAA, University of Alaska has land. The city of Whittier has land. So one way you can sort of get more information about it, on the stewardship website, I believe under resources, there's an excellent land ownership map. So you can go to the Prince William Sound Stewardship Foundation's website, go under resources. And if you're planning a trip or just curious, look that up and know where you're going. Even if you're just going out for a day and want to go have a fire on the beach, it's useful to know who owns the land and maybe learn a little bit about what they're doing with the land and their history with that land. We'll have a break now. I want to encourage everybody online and here in the room, if you have a chance, we are a membership organization, the Prince William Sound Stewardship Foundation, and we have strengthened numbers, as they say. And so it's not much. It's at $25 for a year. Maybe even cheaper for you students here in the audience, and so we encourage you to join. Also, there's a survey/evaluation of this event. So when you get a chance, you can fill that out. That helps us plan for next year. We're always looking for ideas for speakers and topics. We'll literally start planning next year in a week. We'll debrief this event and start with our Charlotte Hughes. Here's our awesome executive director and helps really put this whole event together. So a little break, enjoy some snacks, and we'll see you in about 15 minutes.